Hi, everybody. I'm Skip Elsheimer of AV Geeks, and welcome to our lunchtime screening. The last film was Bread of Paris, and while it was distributed by Encyclopaedia Britannica, I think it was probably made by somebody in France who did kind of a piece about how bread is important to French culture, but also kind of showing French culture. Encyclopaedia Britannica probably licensed it because they could show it in geography classes, European history classes, French classes to kind of just show the culture. But I figured it was a nice, easy way to show people eating bread and having lunch and brunch and breakfast and 11sies and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, and that jazz soundtrack was pretty hip. So, anyways, today is Thursday, and we have been doing this. We're in the middle of our 9th week, and I want to give a shout out to Calvin Sexton, who is someone who watches us on YouTube, and he went ahead and logged all the films that we've shown since the middle of March for these lunchtime screenings. And so kudos to him. And what I've noticed is there's roughly 230 films that we've shown. I'm still kind of going through the list. And we've only duplicated twice. That's really great for my brain, because the further we go along with this, the more likely that I will duplicate showing a film, and just because I forgot I showed it already. The film we showed twice was The Golden Rule, which was a recently digitized thing, so I didn't have it in my normal list, and I was like, oh, I should show this, and then I was probably like, oh, I should show this, because I don't remember showing it. Anyhow, so speaking of, where is it? Hold on, can't find it. Oh, it's here. All right, so another person on YouTube who's been following me since the very beginning, who's a big fan of what we've been doing, has been requesting this for quite a while. So here it is, Don't Touch. It is a safety film about blasting caps made by an association that uses explosives, which it'll show at the beginning. But this is hilarious. The acting is so poor in this. And there's a whole thing with the production music, which is hilarious. So anyways, here it is. Don't touch.
Well, that's the way we professionals use commercial explosives. Occasionally, blasting caps do get lost, they stray, or they get stolen. And that can create situations like the one I'm asking you to watch right now. Then you'll understand why we pros are really concerned when explosives get into the hands of amateurs.
Ryder, this is the Sherman Blasting Company dispatcher. Do you read me?
Go ahead, this is Ryder.
That call about some kids finding a possible blasting cap is confirmed. Proceed to Maplewood Lane, Blast House. Name on the mailbox is Carlton. Notify us as to what you find. Will do.
I'm not gonna let you go in there.
Bug off, will you? I am.
You can't go in there. It's too dangerous and risky.
You're imagining things, Rod. That thing I found, some kind of gadget to hook up to something.
No, it's not. It's a blasting cap, and it's dangerous. Don't you remember the poster in school?
Yeah, let's wait. He may be right. I didn't see any poster in school.
You were probably absent.
You remember any poster, Jeff? Well, you know, I miss a lot that goes on in class. No, it's mine. I know how to work.
Can't go in there.
Right. Smart, don't you?
No, but I remember what the poster said. You want your hand blown off?
Key.
I'll give you the key.
Hey, stop. Come on, you may be rough.
Okay, fellas, who phoned the police?
He did. He's weird. He reads too much and has a crazy imagination.
Where's this device you thought might be a blasting cap?
It's in there.
Where's the key? Stay back, fellas.
Was I right?
Yes, it's a blasting cap, an electrical one.
What are you going to do?
Well, I'm going to put it in this box where it can't hurt anyone if it does go off.
But what about you?
Oh, don't worry about me. I've been trained to handle explosives. That's why the police called me after you called them. Now, gangway, fellas.
Hey,
going on?
Well,
Okay. I didn't see that warning poster, but either did Jeff.
Yeah, well, I miss a lot that goes on in school.
All right, look out, fellas, please. Make that dip.
Hey, cool, just like on TV.
Hey, there's some more here.
Oh, relax, son. Those are just dummy blasting caps. They don't have any explosive charge. We use them for safety education. See, I work for a company that makes blasting caps.
Hey, they look just like the ones I found, except they don't look dangerous.
Well, if you want to see just how dangerous they are, do me a favor and take that line from behind that television set and plug it in the garage for me. Thank you.
All set.
Okay, fellas. Just keep your eye on that television screen. Now, that's a baseball. Watch what a blasting cap can do to it. Here are some of the big and important jobs explosives have done. It's like digging the foundation for a skyscraper. Explosives were needed to widen the Panama Canal. That's the Grand Coulee job, enlarging the electrical production layout, and those are some of the blasting caps they used. That's a blast on the pit face of the Mustafi Range. Now watch this. I want you to see what a blasting cap could do to a human being. Well, imagine what it might have done if it went off in your hand.
Yeah, and I almost attached that to my radio battery.
Well, that probably would have set it off. So might improper handling, as I told you. That's why the message on these posters our industry sends out is very simple. Don't touch.
that's what it said on the one at school.
No, I remember it.
But why do you need so many different kinds of blasting caps?
For different kinds of blasting. Explosives are a vital tool. Explosives dug that deep foundation through New York City's solid rock. Explosives, well, for example, explosives have helped dam a river. They built that hydroelectric power generating station. Explosives deepened a waterway between two oceans. Explosives have done hundreds of fascinating jobs. And blasting caps like these are needed to make these explosives work.
But no one is building a damn or canal around here.
Over 100 million blasting caps are used every year. They're used for all kinds of work. We use them for mining, quarries, road jobs, public service works, all that sort of thing. Now, people who work with explosives are very carefully trained. They're people like me. We try to be very precise with ourselves. And in the use of all explosives, we keep a strict count. We try not to lose them. But sometimes, no matter how hard we try, they are misplaced.
How?
These explosives are stolen. Sometimes they're just abandoned or tossed away. But at any rate, we come across them in an abandoned miner shack or prospector's shack years later.
How long?
Years later. And they're still dangerous.
Amazing, with 100 million in use each year, that more people like Ed don't find them.
Man, I sure was lucky that I really didn't get hurt.
You sure were lucky. And luckier still to have a friend like this guy who had the good sense to call the police. Well, I gotta be on, fellas.
Mister, wait, could I have a poster?
Well, sure. Here, take one. Here, fellas, you take these. Now,
Thanks.
tack them up in school where the kids can see them and learn what blasting caps look like. Then if they find one, they'll be smart and remember, don't touch.
So my favorite part of this, well, there's several things I like about this. One is I would love to have a station wagon that had explosives written on all sides. The second is the kids. He reads too much. He's weird. He has a big imagination or something like that. And then the kid who's like, I don't understand a lot of what's going on in school. The production music that when he's actually trying to deactivate or put the blasting caps in the safe, they just strung together all of these little production music. I guess they're called stringers or stingers, and they all kind of smoosh. It's really great. And then the fact that the guy drops stuff at one point, and they decided to leave that in. Really phenomenal. And that came with another film that I have called Tools. I believe it's Tools for Progress, Explosives. And so this was something that was made by this lobbying organization, or this organization of people that make explosives, to talk about how important they are and why we have to keep using them. So great. So this next film is basically how kids save a neighborhood. This last one was kids, and the one kid saving his friends' lives. This one is about rats and mosquitoes. Enjoy. It Must Be the Neighbors.
Quitting time Friday. No more traffic jams. No more rush, rush, rush. No more headaches at the office. But suddenly, all my plans for a nice weekend at home were forgotten.
Hey, what you got, Bill?
Wouldn't you know? Pete Granger. What a laugh he was having.
Good afternoon, Mr. Duncan.
And just my luck, Miss Monroe had to see it too. I'd been meaning to buy a new garbage can, but, well, what would Betty say?
Bill Duncan, where have you been? I've been waiting all morning for you, and I'm so terribly upset. Do you know what's going on outside? That garbage can's a mess, the red label's on it, the neighbors have been calling, and I just don't
Betty
know.
says plenty.
My parents have been calling me up. It's a disgrace.
Whoa, wait a minute. There's someone downtown I know can take care of this. Health Department, Mr. Foster, please. Friend of mine, Larry Foster. He was a big football star in college. He works for the Health Department now. Larry, Bill Duncan. Say, fella, what goes on here? Some of your people have been nosing around my yard.
Yes, Bill. Yes, I know. Well, we've got the report right here, ready for filing. Well, let's talk about it. I'll drop by your place on my way home. It's just a reminder that improperly stored garbage provides food for rats, flies, and other disease-carrying insects.
While Larry talked, my son Stevie and the Granger boy stood around bug-eyed with hero worship. Well, Larry coached the kids in the neighborhood in their football league. It was as if Johnny Unitas had come to our block.
Well, thanks for the advice, Larry.
Bill, why, Mr. Foster's here. Why don't you show him the yard?
Our yard was Betty's pride and joy. No visitor to our home could escape without first taking the grand tour.
Look here. Any container holding water can produce mosquitoes. including Aedes aegypti, which carries the germs of dengue and yellow fever from man to man. In fact, these look like the larvae right now. We've already identified some in this neighborhood.
Betty, I guess, was having some second thoughts about our invitation. Especially when Larry spotted some breadcrumbs Betty had put out for the birds.
If there are any hungry rats around, now watch out.
I saw one yesterday. Frankie Granger. Honest, Miss Duncan. You're making that up.
Rodents don't recognize boundaries, Mrs. Duncan. They'll invade any neighborhood.
Larry went on to tell us a lot more about the biology and habits of rats, flies, mosquitoes, and other threats to public health when suddenly I noticed the two boys taking off as though shot out of a cannon. But on one thing, Betty and I were agreed. If anyone in the neighborhood was helping to breed these pests, it must be the neighbors. Frankie told his dad about the rat, but depend on Pete Granger to weasel out of it.
Must be the neighbors.
Next morning, I had a talk with Pete Granger about what Stevie had told me.
You're a fine one to talk, Bill Duncan, if you kept your yard half as clean as mine.
See those tiny dark wigglers? They're probably disease-carrying mosquitoes. They breed in water. If you'd pull your plug or cover your boat, Pete.
Oh, yeah? Well, at least I don't get red tags on my garbage cans.
If Pete and I didn't exactly see eye to eye, our boys joined hands that morning in a common cause, an expedition, along with other kids on the block, to survey each boy's yard. At the Costellos, a tire containing stagnant water, a favorite breeding place for domestic mosquitoes. Ditto for their wading pool. At the Mulligans, food left out for their dog, an invitation to insects and rats. At the Jacobsons, scrap lumber, a good hiding place for rats, who fed at a nearby garbage can. The vacant lot next door, with overgrown weeds, cluttered with bottles, tin cans, discarded auto parts and appliances, each containing stagnant water. From yard to yard the boys went, gathering new recruits on the way. At the Morrisons, their septic tank had overflowed, now a breeding place for the Culex mosquito that carries the germs of encephalitis or sleeping sickness. At the Digby's, children's playthings, but each also a menace, for all of these containers could produce mosquitoes. But when each boy confronted his parent, the answer was about the same.
It must be the neighbors, son.
Oh, darling, it isn't us, it's the neighbors.
However, there was one yard in which the boys couldn't get. Miss Monroe's next door.
Okay, boys, take 10.
That Saturday afternoon, I saw Larry Foster doing football practice. I asked him what the city was doing to keep our neighborhood clean.
The city provides ordinances and regulations for the guidance of the individual household, Bill. At the health department, we put out information for TV, radio, and the newspapers. We also make periodic inspections of the premises. Then, of course, the city collects your garbage twice a week, your rubbish once a week, and disposes of it by sanitary methods. Now, if it weren't for that service, any modern city would soon become a shambles. But the job of keeping your property free from health hazards is mainly yours, Bill. Now, the good citizen recognizes that fact and does all that he can to safeguard the health of his family and the whole neighborhood.
As Larry went on to paint a grim picture of the various serious diseases carried from man to man by pests such as mosquitoes, rats, and flies, he had a spellbound audience. It wasn't long before our neighbors, taking their cue from their youngsters, got the message. Throughout our neighborhood, there was a general cleanup and improvement campaign. As for the Duncans, we had also learned a lesson. I had purchased a new garbage container, and each day Betty took pains to drain and wrap our garbage carefully. Before putting it into the container that sat on a new cart I had purchased, a protection against rats and prowling dogs. No more breadcrumbs in our yard either, for Betty had a bird feeder now, taking care not to let it overflow. But there was still a problem. The yard next door, as tightly guarded as Fort Knox. With all sorts of water-holding containers. Something Larry Foster said had burned itself into Betty's mind.
Like most people, no doubt you thought that all mosquitoes came from stagnant pools along the creek and on the street. But any container holding stagnant water can produce the yellow fever and other mosquitoes.
However, I didn't count on the resourcefulness of one Mrs. Bill Duncan. For next morning, she had Miss Monroe in for coffee. Soon, for the good of Miss Monroe and the whole neighborhood, Betty convinced her of certain things. That a bird bath should be scrubbed clean at least once a week. That water and pet dishes should be changed daily. That water-holding containers should be eliminated wherever possible, and that many plants should be grown in earth or sand instead of water. Miss Monroe's yard, our own yard. 2 down and 1 to go.
Hi, Bill.
Pete Granger, a hard nut to crack. However, when the Grangers invited us over to a weenie roast that Sunday afternoon, I found that Pete had also seen the light.
Do a good job, son, and careful about those food scraps.
Well, congratulations, Pete. I see you've learned your lesson.
See here, Bill Duncan, if you kept your yard half as clean as I keep mine...
And that goes double for you, Mr. Granger.
Took the kids to wake us up, Bill. It's time we quit passing the buck. Keeping this neighborhood clean is up to all the folks on this block. Each and every one of us.
It took the kids to wake us up, Bill. So this is a fascinating film for me because this is really about public health and about people's consideration for other people and what causes public health issues. I'm not going to extrapolate for current affairs, but it is something it's fascinating and has been a problem and will continue to be a problem because people are people, and that's what they do. Okay, so this next film is fascinating because it's filled with celebrities. It was made in the 70s, early 80s, and it's a really fascinating film because it's made to talk about hiring physically handicapped. And the approach that they take is fascinating. It's really, really quite something. And so you'll see lots and lots of celebrities in here, including a young Michael Keaton. And there's music. It's really something, and it's called A Different Approach. So here we go. A Different Approach.
Why do I have to see these dull, boring films in the middle of my day? Hurry up, you fool. How does it look for a director of personnel to be late for an employment of the Handicapped meeting? It's all your fault. You're stupid, disorganized, and lack the proper attitude to be my assistant. The only reason I keep you is because you're deaf.
Oh, Dr. Liebling, come in. It's nice to see you. I think you know everyone here, except Howard Scarf. Howard, this is Dr. Liebling. Hi, no. Howard is the producer of our new film on employment of the handicapped. Dr. Liebling is director of personnel at Deutschland Airways. I thought it'd be a good idea at this point to get some feedback from a prospective employer.
Kind of stiff, isn't he?
Oh, he's sober. He always acts this way.
Okay, Harry. Ready when you are.
All right, everyone. Here's the moment we've all been waiting for. Okay, Howard, let her roll.
How long will it take, Harry? I'm in a hurry.
Why not do yourself a favor? Why not be a little braver? Why not give someone a helping hand? You'll thank your lucky stars. It's time that somebody spoke up. It's time everybody woke up. It's high time that you employers understand that there's a world of really talented lawyers, accountants, and doctors, and soda jerks. Not to mention the truck drivers, bankers, night watchmen, and teachers, and filing clerks. A popular misconception's always had us labeled as clumsy, inadequate, second-rate workers, 'cause we're disabled. No more bias or confusion. We've come to this one conclusion. Handicapped is just a way to say you need. There isn't a single person here who wants a handout, no sir. All we want's an equal chance to be your grocer. Do yourself a favor, hire the handicap. Do yourself a favor, hire the handicap. There isn't a single person here who wants a handout, no sir. All we want's an equal chance to be your grocer. Do yourself a favor, hire the handicap.
Howard, stop the film. Somebody get the light.
What's the matter, Harry?
You can't do that.
Why not? 40 seconds into the film, you've got the audience by the throat.
This film is supposed to promote the employment of the handicapped. It's not supposed to be a musical.
Harry, millions and millions of products and ideas are sold using these techniques. Trust me on this one.
When they see this in Washington, they're going to think I'm nuts.
Well, it's unusual.
Yes, it's a very different opening, isn't it?
Maybe it'll get better, Harry. How could it? He's trying to bring us a musical on government money.
What's wrong with that? Entertainment usually gets the point across a hell of a lot better than preaching does. Look, we're just out to encourage the employment of the handicapped by showing them as useful employees.
Is there any money left to reshoot this thing?
And to break down barriers of prejudice against the handicapped. And finally, to give the handicapped a better self-image, you know? To help them realize it's ability that counts and nothing else. This film does all of that.
Maybe we should see more of the film, Harry.
Oh, all right, all right.
Just that if I'm going to be known as the man who set the handicap back 20 years, I'd like to see how I did it. I just hope 60 Minutes doesn't hear about this one.
You know, the word handicapped has got a lot of different meanings, but incapable doesn't happen to be one of them. See, there's a lot of people that think that if you can't hear the alarm clock, or if you can't walk up a flight of steps, or you can't see the fine lines in a blueprint, well, that means that you're not a normal person and you shouldn't be hired. Well, that is a lot of bull.
Do you think that's all right for him to say bull like that,
I
Harry?
mean, of course, there's jobs we can't do, lots of them. But the way I look at it is, that's what all you non-handicapped people are there for. I mean, we can't do everything.
Charlie? Yeah? You missed a couple of these. You better check them over.
Oh, really? Great. Okay. That's another thing about being handicapped that makes me think I'm just like anybody else. I'm not perfect.
Nobody's ever said that
There are a
before.
lot of people in this world that have made it with so-called handicaps. You got John F. Kennedy, for example, Kareem Jabbar, Sammy Davis Jr. Remember
crazy?
Kennedy's
Those
back?
people
He
aren't
hardly had a day
handicapped.
without pain.
You don't think a black
And
one-eyed
you take
Jew is a
Jabbar off the
handicap?
basketball court. and
No
he's
way
really
would he admit
handicapped.
that. There are ways.
And what about Paul Williams, Mickey Rooney, Truman Capote? I got friends in wheelchairs that are taller than
Oh,
they
my
are.
God,
You know,
we're gonna
Beethoven
get
did not
sued.
stop composing music just because he lost his hearing. And multiple strokes didn't stop Patricia Neal from going back to work, and loss of a leg did not stop Toady Fields either.
That's a good point.
And talk about handicaps. If you were going to hire yourself a salesman, would you hire Woody Allen? Or Marty Feldman? Or Peter Falk? Or for that matter, back in the 50s, if you were going to hire yourself a front office receptionist, you probably wouldn't even have considered hiring Bette Midler or Barbara Streisand.
I never
because
thought
in
of
those
it
days,
that way, but it's
everybody and
true.
everything happened to be absolutely perfect.
No. Stop the film. This is ridiculous. We're insulting famous people.
Why, Harry? These are famous people. They're great people. All we're saying is they had handicaps to overcome, and they did it. I think they'd agree.
Nobody was prejudiced against those people.
What? Nobody was prejudiced against Jackie Robinson?
Jackie Robinson? Where did he come from? He has 2 arms and 2 legs.
Ah, but he was black. That was his handicap, and he overcame it because he was damn good at his job. But he had to prove it.
Who in the world is Jackie Robinson?
And the guy up there playing the worker, he's just a handicapped person doing his job.
Oh, I love that line about not being perfect.
Yes, but listen. You're comparing a situation like an actor saying, hey, look, my face looks like a Mexican dinner. Aren't I interesting? To a guy saying, hey, look, I'm paralyzed from the waist down. Give me a job.
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is there are all kinds of handicaps. We all have them. Look, when I was doing research for this job, I discovered that companies employ handicapped people, severely handicapped people, and they don't even know it. People with diabetes, epilepsy, heart conditions, back problems, alcoholics.
And what about tardiness, absenteeism, or just plain goofing off? Those are the real handicaps that may be more difficult to overcome than any physical limitations.
Well, hell, if you wear glasses, you're handicapped. I mean, we're just learning to accept them.
Do you mean to tell me that wearing glasses is a handicap?
Well, sure. Glasses are a tool to help overcome a handicap, just like a wheelchair is to someone without the use of their legs, or a talking calculator or a blinking telephone is for someone who has to overcome blindness or loss of hearing.
Right.
Okay, you've proven the whole world is handicapped. But where do we go from here?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
There were just so many ways to go.
You mean this is all the film you've got? A factory worker and a disabled choir?
No, there was more. There's just so much to say. I had 100 approaches.
So then the point of view of this film is what? Potluck?
Sort of.
I don't believe it. Well, thank God we've got some literature to hand out at the end of this picture.
I wanted to get the best approach, so I went to Hollywood, I went to New York, just to get the best opinions from the top creative people.
Was that in the budget, Madge?
Oh, yes. It was in the budget.
Yeah, they all gave different approaches. Some good, some bad.
Well, you filmed the good ones.
No, I filmed them all.
I can hardly wait.
I think you should take the advertising approach.
Hi, I'm Bob Ridgely here at this supermarket doing a survey to see if people can tell which product was made by a handicapped person. Oh, excuse me, ma'am. Would you do us a big favor, please?
Sure.
Would you look carefully at these two products and tell us, if you can, which one was made by a handicapped person?
Oh, yeah, I'm good at this.
You are?
Oh, yeah. I can always tell.
Could be any handicap.
Well, I usually can tell.
Deaf person, blind. I mean, it doesn't make any difference. No specific handicap.
Well, in that case, it's this one.
You're positive it's this one? Oh, I am sorry.
Shoot. Really? For heavens, I'm really surprised. They look exactly the same.
Uh-huh.
That's amazing.
Hey, don't feel bad. It's so hard to tell the difference that even experts like you can't do it.
Well, I'm going to get this kind from now on.
There you have it. The full test. Oh,
They won't believe this in Washington.
Why not try the on-the-spot Film at 11 eyewitness news approach? Film at 11, 10 Central, not seen in the East Canada or Mexico.
Take one, Mark.
Yes, you asked me if I worked with handicapped people. I've worked here for about 17 years, and I've learned quite a bit from handicapped people, and I don't know what the company would do without them.
They do just as well as anybody else. They're tremendous people.
I worked with some of the handicapped people in the past. Some of them are very good workers, and some are not quite so good. He lost a leg, and later they had another operation. They had to amputate the other leg, but he was very versatile on his wheelchair.
I worked with deaf people, and from all appearances, they did a fantastic job.
We had a special drafting board for him, and he was a real asset.
He can do work with one hand that some guys can't do with two hands. He does a damn good job at it.
Yes, I did work with a handicapped fella. He was black, and he was in a wheelchair, and he sat right next to me. He was an engineer. And the only difference was that they have to lower the drafting table. Other than that, he was very, very good. In fact, he was so good, he quit Lockheed and went into business for himself as an architect. And that was the last I saw of him.
I work with handicaps. I work with my boss. He's an idiot.
I've been asked this question a million times, and I've always said, why not take the success story approach?
I started Pride Electronics 4 years ago in a double garage with a $400 investment. Last year, we achieved sales of $3.6 million with a warranty return rate of less than 2%, which is much better than the national average of industries who hire so-called able-bodied employees. In my view, handicapped workers represent the most underutilized and precious resource in American industry today. That's why 90% of our employees are handicapped. They make terrific workers, and they're great for business.
Oh, I like that approach.
I think you should use the old turn-the-tables approach. That's what I think.
That's wonderful. So true.
How the other half lives.
Why don't you use the thrill of victory approach?
If you want my opinion, I think the film should take the handicapped doing their own thing approach.
A 1 and 3, touch a quarter. Boys run around the girl. Do a bit of sadu, make an ocean wave. Relay the doozy. Go.
No one is handicapped here. What's the point?
They're blind, Harry.
Swing through, boys trade. Corner swinging there. You promenade.
That's incredible. It really shows the true capacities.
I like.
Now that tells it how it is.
The best way is the direct, straightforward approach.
Hi, friends. Sid Falco again for Sid Falco's Handicapped City. And you know, down deep in my heart, I want to sell you one of these terrific handicapped workers. And today, like every day, it's a gigantic sale day here at Handicapped City. Every day I'm getting in new stock. And that means that every day is a good day for you to come on down and pick out a top-of-the-line, fully guaranteed, reconditioned model of your choice. Just come right on down and ask for me, Sid Falco. We've got them all here at Handicapped City. We're the largest handicapped dealership west of Chicago. And that means we've got whatever you need. We've got typists, lawyers, accountants, sorters, packers, administrators, mechanics, you name it, and I've got it. And friends, in this day of inflation, here's something that won't go up. Insurance rates do not go up when you hire a handicapped worker. Stop anywhere and compare. But just for letting me talk to you, I'll give you 5,000 Buffalo chip stamps absolutely free. Why, you just can't beat the deals I've got for you here at Handicapped City.
Boy, I don't believe what I'm
So
seeing.
come on down. Remember?
Oh,
Hey,
Harry,
hurry up,
I
will you?
think what he's trying to show is that handicapped workers are a
right now.
valuable commodity. Isn't that right, Howard?
You got it, baby.
Why not try the understanding, unprejudiced approach?
Hey, Lal, what's new?
Oh, I hear they're hiring some handicapped people in the design department.
Oh, no. How do you know that?
No, they're cutting down the legs on the drafting tables for the wheelchairs.
Next it'll be the telephones and the toilets.
Yeah, I know. I suppose there isn't anything we can do.
I guess we'll just have to give them a chance and see how they work out.
I guess so. Well, they're human, too. Come
Yeah.
on, I'll buy you a beer.
Okay.
No, that's enough. I can't take any more. Stop! Stop it! Howard, do you really think that this stuff represents handicapped people?
Not all of it. But, see, that's one of the problems. Handicapped people have no representation. You take television, for example. Every hero, every heroine, they're all American types. There's not one pimple.
Indeed. And what about all those precocious little brats who tell you what to buy? Oh, no. I think it's about time America started to experiment with real people.
Which only leads to one conclusion. The media, the advertisers, they don't consider the handicapped wage earners or important consumers.
But we're talking about 28 million adults and 8 million children in this country alone.
So, while you're laughing at some of the things in this film, you're focusing on some of the positive things about the handicapped.
I like that.
I think it shows that if you give a handicapped person a chance, they can usually do it.
Some can, maybe most of them. Hell, we're all just an accident away from a handicap every minute of the day.
And that will not be our slogan for next year. I think the film works, Harry. Okay, we'll go with it. At least it has some traditional moments in it. Make prints and release it. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Harry, you won't regret it.
I hope not. If it works, you've done a good job, Howard. And if it doesn't, well, maybe we can sell it to Saturday Night Live or The Gong Show. Is there any more for us to see?
Just the closing credits. Oh, the ending. You'll love the ending. It's far out.
All right, then. Well, we don't need you anymore, Howard. We're going to look at that ending, and then we'll have our meeting.
Well, Harry, I really think I should probably stick around here.
No, we're running late, so thank you very much, Howard. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
See ya.
Ciao. All right. Let's see that ending. Howard! Howard! Where is he? Get him back here! He can't end it like this!
Oh. Does anyone have an aspirin?
Did you look at all the closing credits? Did we pay all of those people?
Just a few of them, Harry.
The damn credits are longer than the picture.
Which one was Norman Lear?
I thought Lee Majors was supposed to be in this film.
He said he was too tired.
I can understand that.
Do you think Howard has relatives in this picture?
Say, do you know if any of these people are handicapped?
I heard Betty White was canceled.
I just hope we've done something here to encourage employment of the handicapped.
Howard is right, Harry. There are a lot of ways to go about it.
This is a different approach.
And a good one.
I just hope Washington agrees.
There are ways.
What a phenomenal film that was. Very 1978, though. I don't know if you noticed Michael Keaton, young Michael Keaton, who was wearing a Darth Vader Lives shirt, and Vader was spelt wrong. It was spelled V-A-D-A-R. So really amazing. It kind of captures this sentiment, which was like, hey, here's a group of people that are able to work and want to work. So it's interesting. I have other films that are about hiring the handicapped, both physical and mental handicaps. And they tend to be very serious and solemn. And this one truly is a different approach. And it kind of, I think it breaks down some of the awkwardness. It's pretty great. Wow, I have quite a few films to show. This next one is it's made by the Eameses, Charles and Ray Eames, and they were designers who made chairs and all sorts of industrial design things that sell for a lot of money. They also were filmmakers, and they did several things for IBM. They did several things for a variety of different clients. They're probably most well known for Powers of 10, which is an amazing film that explains levels of basically it starts with somebody on a picnic blanket, and it zooms out and then it zooms in. So it zooms out to the universe and zooms into some sort of microverse. It's really quite fascinating. But anyways, this is a film called Communications Primer.
From the Latin communicatio. 1. Act or fact of communicating, as communication of smallpox, of a secret, of power. 2. Intercourse by words, letters, or messages. Interchange of thoughts or opinions. In the broadest aspects of communication, much work has recently been done to clarify theories and make them workable. The era we are entering might well be characterized as an era of communication. This film will touch in the most elementary way some aspects of the subject that are of daily concern to all of us. Here is Claude Shannon's diagram. Almost any communication process can be schematically represented. The information source selects the desired message out of a set of possible messages. The transmitter changes the message into the signal, which is sent over the communications channel to the receiver, where it is decoded back into the message and delivered to the destination. Every such system contains noise. Noise is a term used in the communications field to designate any outside force which acts on the transmitted signal to vary it from the original. In this usage, noise does not necessarily mean sound. Reading is a form of communication where the word is the signal, the printed page the transmitter, light the channel, the eye the receiver. Here sound can act as noise and interfere with the message. But in some situations, like reading on a train where the sound level is normally high, it is not the sound that interferes with the communication process as much as the motion and the unpredictable quality of the light source. Quality of light and motion then becomes noise. In radio, noise could be static. In television, noise is often the distortion of the picture through transmitting or receiving. In a typewritten message, the noise source could be in the quality of the ribbon or the keys, and we are all familiar with the carbon copies that keep getting progressively worse. If anything acts on the signal so as to vary it in an unpredictable and undesirable way in the communication system, it is noise. We can consider telegraphy in terms of this same diagram. We will use a New York stockbroker's office as the information source and a Los Angeles stockbroker's office as the destination. There may exist at the information source just two possible messages, buy or sell. From these two, the message sell is selected, then coded by the telegraphic key, which is the transmitter, and sent over the channel in electrical impulse signals, decoded by the receiver back into the message cell, and delivered to the destination. Noise, of course, is there, this time acting electrically, to start the signal in such a way as to change cell into self. But as there are only two possible messages, buy and sell, there is sufficient redundancy in the spelling of the words that even if it did read self, the information would still be clear. Naturally, this example has nothing to do with the stockbroker's office of today, because of all organized communication, market information is perhaps the most efficiently handled. The New York information enters a signal channel in this form and is automatically decoded in Los Angeles in this form. But even here, we find redundancy counteracting noise. The English language is about one-half redundant. This extra framework helps prevent distortion of the message in the written language or in the spoken language. In speech, the brain is usually the information source. From it, the message is selected. The message is the thought, not the words. The vocal mechanism codes the words into vibrations and transmits them as sound across the communications channel, which is, of course, the air. The sound of the word is the signal. The ear picks up the signal, and with the associated eighth nerve, decodes the signal and delivers the message to the destination. This time, noise could originate in the transmitter or in sound vibrations that disturb the channel. Or it could be a nervous condition on the part of the receiver, and it could change the message from I love you to I hate you. How do you combat it? One way is through redundancy. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Another is increasing the power of the transmitter. This combats noise, as does the careful beaming of the signal or duplicating of the message via other signals. Communicate information must also be a choice of other messages, because if the information source were so loaded with feelings of love as to be incapable of any other thought, then surely by the time the words I love you were spoken, no information was communicated at all. No information, yet previous experiences could make those three words convey great meaning. Source, message, transmitter, channel, message, destination. You could imagine the message being music and the transmitted signal being tone, or it could be applied equally well to writing or to smoke signals or to hand signals. But let's take painting as another example of a signal transmitting a coded message. Information source, mind and experience of painter. Message, his concept of a particular painting. Transmitter, his talent and technique. Signal, the painting itself. Receiver, all the eyes and nervous systems and previous conditionings of those who see the painting. Destination, their minds, their emotions, their experience. Now in this case, the noise that tends to disrupt the signal can take many forms. It can be the quality of the light, or the color of the light, or the prejudices of the viewer, or the idiosyncrasies of the painter. But besides noise, there are other factors which can keep the information from reaching its destination intact. The background and conditioning of the receiving apparatus may so differ from that of the transmitter that it may be impossible for the receiver to pick up the signals without distortion. In any communication system, the receiver must be able to decode something of what the transmitter coded, or no information gets to the destination at all. If you speak Chinese to me, I must know Chinese to understand your words. But even without knowing the Chinese language, I can understand much of your feelings through other codes we have in common. There are systems of communication where there is no redundancy and no duplication of the message. Here, knowledge of the code is essential. In planning one if by land, two if by sea, the fellow on the opposite shore simply had to know the code. But there are also many examples of times when the message has been conceived and the signal sent long in advance of understanding or acceptance of the code employed. In the case of Galileo or Socrates, it did not in time matter that the receivers of their time were not tuned to receive their signal. The ultimate transmission of such a message represents communication of a very complex order. Other high-level communication occurs in very different areas. A wave breaking on a beach brings a world of information about events far out at sea. It can tell of winds and storms, the distance and the intensity. It can locate reefs and islands and many things, if you know the code. When we watch them turning and wheeling, how often have we wondered what holds such birds together in their flight? Communication is that which links any organism together. It is communication that keeps a society together. And though these people seem unaware of each other's existence, neither looking nor speaking, one group meets and filters through the other, with hardly two individuals coming in contact. So constant is the flow of information, and so complex the web of communication that keeps them apart and holds them together. the symbol, the abstracting of an idea, communication at once anonymous and personal. Personal because of the countless individuals that created its form, each one who in his turn added something good or who took something bad away. Anonymous because of the numbers of individuals involved and because of their consistent attitude. These are examples of communication of an idea through symbols, but there can also be communication through symbols to an idea, as in the burnt offering or in the flame of the candle. The use of flame as a transmitter in the communications channel is probably as old as man's first fire. It stands for all the wonder and mystery of forces beyond man's knowledge. The storm warning flags are part of a long evolutionary tradition of signals, but their beginnings were probably in basic reactions to color and form, basic enough to make their communications carry beyond the barriers of language and custom. But symbols also change and evolve. Some methods of transmitting messages rapidly become symbols, then pass into obscurity to become readable only to the anthropologist, while other symbols of communication remain. The message being transmitted here may be unlimited in the range and the subtlety of its ideas. Yet the method and the signal are such that they must be fed to the transmitter in a series of positive decisions. The system calls for the key to be either up or down. The code calls for a dot or a dash. The current flows, it ceases to flow, it flows. It is black or white. It is stop or go. On or off, one or none, go or no go, or black or white, as in this small area from a halftone reproduction in a magazine. The press that printed it is capable of printing but one color of ink at a time, in this case black ink on white paper. In order to transmit the image, it had to be broken down to many points of decision, black or white. We know that such a limitation is not at all restricting if enough decisions are made. In this case, 500,000 decided points give fair rendition. 1,000,000 would be better. Conventional printing of color is no different except that with the added factor of color, 4 times the number of decisions had to be made. One set in yellow, one in red, in blue, and in black. Whenever added factors in a problem are recognized, the number of decisions necessary for the solution grows by large leaps. As theories and equipment and men develop, it becomes apparent that one sure way of handling multiple factors is to build a system that can handle each decision in its time. Men have long known the theory on which complex problems of many factors can be solved. But the number of decisions, the calculations necessary were prodigious. And not until the recent development of the electronic calculator could these areas be touched. The problem became one of communication between man and machine, between machine and machine, between machine and man. The chords are punched or not punched. Light passes or stops. And by this binary system, information is fed the machine. In a moment, we will hear sounds which are an actual product of a huge calculator. The frequencies are made audible to check its functioning and in a way feel its pulse. Here it is. The ability of these machines to store information, manipulate, sort, and deliver it is fantastic. And with their complex feedback systems, their memories, their almost human reactions to situations, it is understandable that they are popularly referred to as brains. The greatest fallacy in the comparison is one of degree. The decisions made by the machines are comparable in number to the 500,000 in this halftone. But far greater is the number of stops and goes performed by the human nervous system in order to complete the simplest act. So great that if each decision were represented by a small halftone dot, the total area of dots would cover several earths. Such is the magnitude we reach when a number like 500,000 is raised to the 4th power. As flowing as the human movements may seem, they are actually the product of these countless yes-no decisions communicated with great speed to and from all parts of the body. The channel is the nervous system. Each nerve is made up of hundreds of fibers. The decision is the impulse of a single nerve fiber, an all-out event, a trigger process, which is set off like an explosion when the stimulus exceeds the ignition point. The dot in the halftone, the hole in the tape. Each is a separate fire, no-fire signal, but together they add up to a smooth, sometimes incredibly complex action that often seems more vague than decisive. Yet many things which we accept as undecided vagaries would be, if we could bring our focus in sharp, decisive individual units. It is the responsibility of selecting and relating parts that makes possible a whole which itself has unity. The line on which each color breaks and the point at which each dot that makes up this painting is placed affects the whole canvas. The communication of the total message contains the responsibility of innumerable decisions made again and again, always checking with the total concept through a constant feedback system. These elements of a communication system act together as one great tool. And though the tool may perform a most complex task, it can never relieve the man of his responsibility. No matter where it occurs, no matter what the technique, communication means the responsibility of decision all the way down the line.
Okay, it seems like there was some confusion with the film. They weren't clear on some points, so we'll just watch it one more time. And this time, it just, let it sink into your brain, which is now probably mush. Sorry. Yeah, 1953, we had different attention spans back then. I think that they made it for IBM. That's my take on this. But since your brains are mush, I want you to think about this next thing. It's going to be short. But early television, there was a big demand for content, and especially animation. Animation takes time and money. So this production company figured out a way to make it cheaper. This is Clutch Cargo.
Clutch and Company with Hiram Bates had a mighty close call in one of the Smart Brothers' 1919 buses. As they arrived in Middletown, they saw Hi and Susie's Aerobus flying out of control. Clutch tried to help Susie, but the bus crashed anyway.
Come on, Spinner, give me a hand.
You all right, Miss Susie?
Yes, thank you, Clutch. I'm fine.
I'm glad you're all right, Miss Susie. But why'd you fly it?
I just couldn't wait any longer, Hi. And everything would have been all right, but...
Somebody loosened the connection in this engine.
Gee, do you think it was sabotage, Clutch?
That's what it looks like to me, Spinner. Damage isn't too bad, though. We can repair it.
If we can, we can demonstrate the Aerobus. Then Hi and I will get the bus franchise for Middletown.
Otherwise, those Smog brothers will continue using their smoggy buses.
Well, come on, let's get her down and start repairs. We've got to meet tomorrow's deadline at the city council.
Looks like you've had some trouble.
Stop it, Paddlefoot. That isn't nice.
Say, weren't you our bus driver?
Who, me? No, that was my brother Tom. I'll help you get that machine untangled from that tree.
Be careful. Don't damage it anymore.
I'll be careful. I do a lot of this work.
Oh, no. Golly.
And we were to show it to the mayor's committee tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. We'll never make it now.
I guess I better get out of here.
Oh, my gosh. Those two look just like that other one.
Watch out. Those guys are nothing but trouble.
I'm Tom Smog. That was Dick. This is Harry. Looks like you've had some trouble.
You were the bus driver. Why'd you abandon us coming down that hill?
Sorry about that, friend. A big bump threw me clear out of my raincoat and hat and through the rear window. No way to warn you.
We was almost killed.
You seem much shorter.
I hit with an awful jolt.
I'll be glad to haul that junk away for $2.
Junk? That plane represents 3 years of hard work.
You Smog brothers seem to bring us nothing but bad luck.
We'll gladly stick around and help you put it together, right, Harry?
Well, now, I don't know.
Forget it. I have a feeling we'll do much better without your help.
Okay. I'll take my bus back now.
I certainly wouldn't want their help. I don't trust those Smog brothers.
Those Smog brothers seem to be in everything. Junk business, wrecking business, bus business.
And maybe even monkey business. But let's roll up our sleeves, folks. Got until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning to get this flying bus into the air again.
Can they repair the Aerobus in time to meet the deadline? Be sure to tune in for the next exciting episode with Clutch Cargo.
Wow. I only have one episode, and I can't remember where I got it. I think it was eBay. But our friend is one of the voices, Hal Smith. Hal Smith, who was the coin purse and who was the weird space vampire bat and has been doing narration for many educational films we have. Hal Smith, of course, Otis the Drunk on the Andy Griffith Show. That dude just keeps showing up, man. I love him. I wish he was still alive. I would have a whole Hal Smith show and try to have him come in. So thanks so much for tuning in today. Tomorrow we will be showing you more films at 1 o'clock. And then also at 6 o'clock, we'll be doing a special screening with an expert at the Hunt Library, and we're going to be talking about plastics and showing 2 films from plastics, including one that I have shown as our lunchtime thing, but also a new one that you guys have not seen. If you like what you saw, avgeeks.com has lots and lots and lots of stuff, and Patreon is a place to donate. Thanks so much for tuning in and for your comments. Thanks again to Calvin for documenting what we're doing so that I can make sure that I'm not duplicating my efforts in the future. And have a good rest of the Thursday. Take care.